By age 65, the average man has lost between 30 and 50% of the testosterone he had at 30. That's not a slow drift. That's a fundamental biological shift, one that quietly reshapes energy, mood, physical capacity, and the ability to maintain intimacy with a partner. And here's the part most men never hear. The relationship runs both ways. Testosterone affects intimacy, and intimacy, in turn, directly influences testosterone. Most physicians spend less than 4 minutes discussing this in a routine checkup. That silence has consequences. Hello, gentlemen. I'm Dr. Jocelyn, a board-certified urologist with over a decade of experience helping men over 60 protect their hormonal health, preserve their vitality, and maintain meaningful physical connection well into their later years. Today, I'm laying out exactly what the research shows about the link between testosterone and intimacy after 65, and the 5 clinically supported strategies that can strengthen both, starting this week. The science here is more actionable than most men realize. A landmark study published by researchers at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health followed 3,200 men between the ages of 60 and 78 for a period of 7 years. The researchers found that men who maintained regular physical intimacy with a partner had testosterone levels that were, on average, 28% higher than men who reported low or no intimate activity during the same period. 28%. That is not a marginal difference. That is the equivalent of reversing nearly a decade of age-related hormonal decline. Today, I'm walking you through 5 evidence-based factors that explain this connection, and more importantly, what you can do about each one. If you're over 65, you've likely already noticed that something has shifted. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly what's happening and exactly how to respond to it. Before we go further, hit that like button right now. Comment below and tell me where you're watching from. I love hearing from men all over the world who are taking their health seriously. Subscribe so you never miss evidence-based guidance on hormonal and physical health for men over 60. Now let me walk you through what the research actually shows. Before I get into the 5 factors, I want to make sure you have the biological foundation to understand why they matter. Testosterone is the body's primary androgenic hormone, meaning it drives and maintains masculine physiological function. It governs muscle mass, bone density, red blood cell production, mood regulation, cognitive clarity, and the physical capacity for intimacy. After age 40, testosterone levels decline at a rate of roughly 1 to 2% per year. That sounds modest, but by 65, the cumulative effect is substantial, and the downstream consequences reach far beyond what most men expect. The medical term for clinically low testosterone is hypogonadism, defined as testosterone levels below 300 nanograms per deciliter. According to data from the American Urological Association, an estimated 40% of men over the age of 45 meet this threshold, and the percentage increases significantly with each passing decade. By age 70, 2 out of every 5 men have measurably low testosterone. Most of them have never been told. One patient described it well. He told me he assumed the fatigue, the flat mood, and the loss of interest in physical connection were just part of getting older. They weren't. They were symptoms, and symptoms can be addressed. Now let me show you exactly how, starting with the factor most physicians never bring up first. Factor number 1, the role of physical contact in hormonal signaling. Testosterone is not produced in isolation. It is part of a feedback loop, the hypothalamic pituitary gonadal axis, which responds to physical and psychological cues from the environment. When a man engages in physical closeness with a partner, the body releases oxytocin, a bonding hormone that directly signals the hypothalamus to sustain testosterone production. The 2 hormones are co-regulators. When oxytocin rises, it buffers the cortisol that suppresses testosterone. When cortisol drops, testosterone rises. A research team at the University of California, San Diego studied 187 men between the ages of 58 and 72 over a 52-week period and found that men who reported consistent physical closeness with a partner, not limited to intercourse but including non-sexual touch, physical affection, and shared physical activity, maintained testosterone levels that were 22% higher than men who reported social and physical isolation. 22% higher. That's the hormonal difference between connection and withdrawal. Think of it like a thermostat. Physical contact tells the body the environment is safe, that connection is present, and that maintaining hormonal vitality is worth the biological investment. Isolation tells the body the opposite. The fix is deliberate. Prioritize physical closeness with your partner, daily, not occasionally. This means sitting together, walking together, physical affection that isn't goal-oriented. Starting tonight, make one simple change. End the day with physical closeness rather than physical distance. This is non-negotiable after 60. One patient, 67 years old, came to me reporting low energy and a growing emotional distance from his wife of 38 years. His testosterone measured at 241. After 8 weeks of deliberately reintroducing daily physical closeness, including morning walks together and consistent physical affection, his testosterone had risen to 318, and he reported that the emotional distance had dissolved almost entirely. He told me, "I didn't realize we had slowly stopped touching each other. That was the real problem." Comment below. Have you noticed a connection between emotional closeness and your physical energy levels? But physical contact is only one side of this equation. What happens inside the body during sleep may matter even more, and most men over 65 are unknowingly sabotaging it every night. Factor number 2, sleep architecture and overnight testosterone production. The majority of daily testosterone is produced during sleep, specifically during the deep, slow-wave sleep cycles that occur in the first half of the night. This is not a minor contributor. Research shows that approximately 70% of a man's daily testosterone output is generated during these overnight cycles. When sleep is fragmented, shortened, or poor in quality, that production is cut off at the source. A study conducted at the University of Chicago followed 149 healthy men between the ages of 64 and 74 over 8 weeks. Participants who averaged 5 hours of sleep per night showed testosterone levels equivalent to men 10 to 15 years older. 5 hours of sleep per night produced the hormonal profile of a man a decade and a half further into aging. That is not a small effect. Think of it like a manufacturing plant. The factory, your endocrine system, only runs its most productive overnight shift if the conditions are right. Interrupt the shift and production falls. Consistently interrupt it and the system begins to decline structurally. The fix requires discipline. Target 7 to 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep in a cool, dark room. Avoid screens for 60 minutes before bed. If you wake at night due to urinary frequency, which is common at this age and worth discussing with your physician, address the underlying cause rather than accepting it as inevitable. Starting tonight, set a consistent sleep and wake time and hold to it regardless of weekends. Sleep consistency is as important as sleep duration. One patient, 71 years old, came to me convinced his testosterone decline was irreversible. He had been sleeping 5 to 6 hours a night for years, partly due to stress and partly due to poor sleep habits. After a structured 8-week sleep protocol, consistent bedtime, room temperature set to 67 degrees, no screens after 9 p.m., his testosterone climbed from 264 to 341. He told me, "I thought I just needed less sleep as I got older. That turned out to be the most expensive assumption I ever made." Hit that like button if this surprised you. Sleep is foundational. But there is a third factor that acts directly on the hormonal axis, one that is entirely within your control and takes less than 30 minutes a day. Factor number 3, resistance exercise and its direct effect on androgen receptor sensitivity. Testosterone is only as effective as the body's ability to receive it. Androgen receptors, the cellular binding sites that allow testosterone to do its work, become less sensitive with age and with inactivity. This means a man can have adequate testosterone levels, but experience the symptoms of low testosterone simply because his cells have lost the ability to respond to it. Resistance exercise is the most clinically validated method for restoring that sensitivity. Researchers at Baylor University followed 212 sedentary men aged 60 to 75 through a 16-week progressive resistance training program. Men who trained 3 times per week showed a 26% improvement in androgen receptor density, alongside a 19% increase in free testosterone, the biologically active fraction. 19%. From 16 weeks of structured training. Think of it like a radio antenna. You can have a strong signal, but if the antenna isn't tuned correctly, you receive static. Resistance training retunes the antenna. The fix is progressive and structured. 3 sessions per week, targeting major muscle groups, legs, back, and chest, using compound movements like squats, rows, and presses. You do not need a gym. Bodyweight resistance at adequate intensity produces measurable results. Beginning this week, commit to 3 30-minute sessions. If you've been sedentary, start conservatively and progress gradually. This is non-negotiable after 65. One patient, 68 years old, came to me frustrated that testosterone therapy had produced minimal results. His levels were borderline, but his symptoms were significant. After 12 weeks of structured resistance training, his free testosterone rose by 21%, and his reported energy, physical confidence, and interest in intimacy improved in parallel. He told me, "I kept waiting for a pill. The answer was in the weight room the whole time." Comment below, are you currently doing any resistance training? I'd like to know. That's 3 factors. But the next one is the one that surprises men most, because it connects mental and emotional health directly to hormonal biology in a way that most physicians never explain. Factor number 4, the cortisol-testosterone inverse relationship. Cortisol and testosterone operate on a seesaw. When cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, rises, testosterone falls. This is not metaphorical. The 2 hormones share a common biochemical precursor, pregnenolone, and when the body prioritizes stress response, it redirects that precursor away from testosterone production. Chronic psychological stress, even at low levels, creates a sustained hormonal suppression that accumulates over months and years. A longitudinal study from the Mayo Clinic followed 280 men aged 62 to 79 over 4 years and found that men with chronically elevated cortisol levels, measured through saliva samples, showed testosterone levels that declined at twice the normal age-related rate. Twice the rate. Unmanaged chronic stress effectively doubled the speed of hormonal aging. Think of it like 2 departments competing for the same budget. When the stress department gets the funds, the hormone department goes without. Sustained stress means sustained underfunding of testosterone production. The fix is active, not passive. Daily stress reduction must be treated as a medical protocol, not a luxury. This includes structured breath work, a minimum of 20 minutes of outdoor walking, and, critically, honest communication with a partner about sources of emotional burden. Starting tomorrow, schedule a daily 20-minute decompression block. Treat it the way you would treat a medication. Miss it and you pay a biological cost. One patient, 66 years old, came to me having lost significant interest in physical intimacy and connection over the previous 2 years. His testosterone was low, his cortisol was elevated. There was no medical pathology, only unaddressed chronic stress from caregiving responsibilities and financial pressure. After 8 weeks of daily structured stress reduction and weekly counseling, his testosterone rose by 18% without any pharmacological intervention. He told me, "I thought this was a hormone problem." It turned out to be a stress problem wearing a hormone problem's clothes. We're nearly there, but the 5th factor may be the most actionable of all, and it starts with what's on your plate tonight. Factor number 5, nutritional support for endogenous testosterone production. Testosterone is synthesized from cholesterol. Specifically, the Leydig cells in the testes convert cholesterol into testosterone through a multi-step enzymatic process. When the body is deficient in the micronutrients that support this process, particularly zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D, production slows measurably. Research shows that 45% of men over 65 are clinically deficient in at least one of these 3 nutrients, and that deficiency directly correlates with below optimal testosterone levels. A trial conducted at the University of Toronto enrolled 306 men aged 60 to 80 with confirmed micronutrient deficiencies and low normal testosterone. Men who corrected their zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D levels through dietary and supplemental means over 12 weeks experienced an average testosterone increase of 23%. 23%, from addressing nutritional deficiencies that a standard diet often fails to correct. Think of it like a production line missing a critical component. The machinery is present, the raw material is present, but without the right parts, the line can't run at capacity. Micronutrients are those parts. The fix is specific. Zinc, found in oysters, red meat, pumpkin seeds, or supplemented at 25 to 40 milligrams daily. Magnesium, found in dark leafy greens, nuts, and legumes, or supplemented at 300 to 400 milligrams daily, preferably as magnesium glycinate. Vitamin D, strongly recommended as a supplement at 2,000 to 4,000 IU daily, particularly for men with limited sun exposure. Starting tonight, review what you ate today. If zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D were not present, they need to be. One patient, 70 years old, came to me with testosterone levels at 278 and significant fatigue. Blood work revealed deficiencies in all 3 micronutrients. After 12 weeks of dietary correction and targeted supplementation, his testosterone rose to 347, and his energy levels, in his words, returned to what they had been at 58. He told me, "I was feeding everything in my life except my own hormonal health. That changes now." Now let me give you the complete action plan. Tonight, before you sleep, set a consistent bedtime and wake time. Make it a rule, not a preference. Also tonight, review your nutrition and identify where zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D are missing from your diet. End the day with deliberate physical closeness with your partner. Starting tomorrow, begin a daily 20-minute stress reduction block. Walk outside. Breathe intentionally. Give your endocrine system the conditions it needs to function. Also tomorrow, if you haven't spoken with your physician about testosterone levels, schedule that conversation. A simple blood panel will tell you exactly where you stand. This week, begin a resistance training protocol. 3 sessions, compound movements, progressive load. If you have existing joint or cardiovascular concerns, work with a physical therapist or your physician to adapt appropriately. Also this week, if supplementation is appropriate for you, begin zinc, magnesium glycinate, and vitamin D under medical guidance. This month and ongoing, track your energy, mood, and engagement. At week 4, note changes in sleep quality and physical vitality. At week 8, revisit your testosterone levels with a follow-up blood panel if your baseline was low. By week 12, most men who consistently apply all 5 factors report measurable improvement in energy, mood, physical capacity, and intimacy. One patient who followed this complete protocol, 69 years old, starting testosterone at 258, reached 361 after 14 weeks. No pharmacological intervention. 5 factors consistently applied. He told me, "I spent 3 years thinking this was just aging. It was never just aging. It was information I didn't have." Gentlemen, here's what you need to understand. Testosterone decline after 65 is real, but it is not entirely inevitable, and it is not untreatable. The link between testosterone and intimacy runs in both directions. Each one supports the other, and both can be strengthened through evidence-based daily practice. The 5 factors are these. Physical closeness with a partner directly stimulates the hormonal signaling pathways that sustain testosterone production. Sleep quality and duration determine whether the overnight manufacturing of testosterone actually occurs. Resistance exercise restores the androgen receptor sensitivity that makes testosterone biologically effective. Cortisol management prevents the biochemical suppression that chronic stress imposes on hormonal output. And nutritional sufficiency in zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D provides the raw biochemical materials the body requires to produce testosterone in the first place. The research is clear and compelling. Men who maintain intimacy, sleep well, train consistently, manage stress, and support their nutritional baseline, maintain testosterone levels that are, on average, 25 to 30% higher than men who do not. Starting tonight, address your sleep. It is the highest leverage single change you can make immediately. Build from there. Within 12 weeks, the difference is measurable, and men who make these changes consistently describe it as reclaiming a decade of vitality. These aren't complicated medical procedures. They are daily choices that are entirely within your control. And your health at 75 and 80 depends on the choices you make today. If this video helped you, hit that like button right now. Comment below and tell me, which of these 5 factors do you think has had the biggest impact on your own energy and hormonal health? I read every response. Subscribe for more evidence-based hormonal and physical health guidance for men over 60. New videos every week. Now, if you want to go even deeper, watch this video next. It covers the specific foods and daily habits that have been shown to raise free testosterone by up to 30% in men over 60 without medication. I'm Dr. Jocelyn. You deserve accurate information and the energy and vitality to live fully. Take care of yourselves, gentlemen.